Right now, we turn to your top story. Mom Ashlee Buzzard pleading not guilty to the murder of her daughter, Melodee Buzzard, arrested last Tuesday, charged the following day with first-degree murder for the shooting death of her 9-year-old. The arrest comes more than 2 months after a multi-state investigation into the disappearance of her beautiful daughter. Investigators believe that Ashlee killed Melodee on October the 9th after she was last seen with her mom at a stop on the Colorado-Utah border during their road trip. The sheriff's office saying that Buzzard returned home the next day all by herself. Ashlee appeared in court by herself for her arraignment. Prosecutors say they will not seek the death penalty. She is the only person charged in this case, no other co-defendants, and some people could be heard reacting in the gallery to that not guilty plea. Take a listen.
Today, you're charged in a felony complaint with first-degree murder with a special allegation pursuant to 190.2A15. Mr. Galvan, do you wish to waive further reading and advisement?
So would.
And are you requesting that I enter not guilty plea and denial?
We're entering a not guilty plea.
Oh, okay. Not guilty plea is...
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen.
It is entered. Special allegations are deemed denied. The matter is assigned for all purposes to Judge Dunkel, Lompoc 1. Mr. Galvan, did you want in-time dates, or was there going to be a preliminary hearing time waiver of some variety?
Judge, Ms. Buzzard and I are waiving the 10-day right to the preliminary hearing, retaining the 60-day right. I calculate her last day as February 24, 2026.
Ma'am, you have the right to a speedy preliminary hearing. That's a preliminary hearing within 10 days of today's date, the date of your arraignment. Also, a preliminary hearing within 60 days of the date of your arraignment. For the first, that is the 10-day limit, do you give up and waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing? Okay. That makes the last day for prelim 2/24 and
January 7th, Judge?
Yes, January 7th. There is no bail.
Melodee's body discovered in Utah on December the 6th. Her remains weren't positively identified until December the 22nd. The criminal complaint against her mother alleges that the crime was carried out with planning, sophistication, and professionalism. So, how is this case going to play out? She pleaded not guilty at the arraignment. Are we going to see a trial? And why aren't the prosecutors seeking the death penalty? Let's talk about this. Let's bring in two incredibly seasoned former homicide prosecutors, attorneys Tommy Pope and Rick Grundy on the show. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Tommy, let me begin with you. The decision, prosecutors already coming out at this early stage of these proceedings and saying they're not pursuing the death penalty. Your thoughts on that, please?
You know, again, different states have different rules, Julie. I traditionally would wait, and as the case developed, I've told you before that the way I viewed a death penalty, it's a murder plus. It's the murder plus the aggravating circumstances. Sound like you're going to have those here, but you want to make sure that the guilt phase is tight, because I think death penalty qualified jurors are a little more leery on the guilt phase if you don't have a tight case. So, you know, we heard from law enforcement, you know, the professionalism and all that was involved in the crime itself. And if it lends itself to that, and it is a tight case, then again, even for whatever reason, if later on I was going to take the death penalty off the table, personally, again, not criticizing these prosecutors, they're the ones in the trenches doing the job. Personally, I would have held off, if nothing else, leverage for life without parole plea if that was the direction you were going. So I would not have removed it at this juncture, barring, again, something that their state's rules require.
Yes, excellent points, Tommy. And for anybody wondering at home, you have that time as a prosecutor. The statute in whatever state you're in would dictate at what point you have to make a decision and file your notice of intent to seek the death penalty. So this was very, very early and perhaps surprising. So thank you for that. And Tommy, you noted about how police have come out and said just how calculated and cold-blooded this was. Rick, I want to play a clip for you, and I'll come to you on the other side. This was at the press conference that was held with the announcement of the charges against mom, Ashlee Buzzard.
Maternal filicide is rare and always difficult to comprehend. But this level of criminal activity is particularly shocking given the calculated, cold-blooded, and criminally sophisticated premeditation and heartlessness that went into planning it, and the ruthlessness that went into actually committing the crime.
Rick, tell us, what was your reaction when you heard this awful news over the holiday, like us?
Why? What could have been done? All of those things that I think people have spent a lengthy time in prosecution and often wish that there was more preventative work done by a prosecutor than stepping in at this point. With respect to the question before here, I got to tell you, as I pondered why the death penalty has been taken out of this case and why at this stage, I came up with more questions than I did answers. I'm somewhat baffled here. We hear that she was arrested by the FBI. She's being prosecuted by California. The allegation is that the child was murdered in Utah. So there's jurisdictional issues there where she could be prosecuted federally. I've seen or heard nothing that would indicate that it's headed that way. Julie, you noted, which was one of my thoughts, is has this death penalty been taken off the table because there's a larger picture here? There's other involvement of individuals. I've seen or heard nothing that would indicate to me even the kind of smoke signals that you would see in a situation like that. So where is California's jurisdiction solely if the homicide was committed in Utah? What is the complete involvement of the federal government? Is the FBI simply an assisting investigative body, or is there a potential federal prosecution there? A lot of questions here.
Oh, excellent, excellent questions you're raising, Rick. Right. You got me thinking, could the federal government decide to seek the death penalty here? Could Utah step in? You're so right, Rick. This isn't as clear-cut as we may think it is, because when we think about it, these investigators are saying she formed the intent to commit the murder in California. That's what they believe, and they believe this plan was masterfully carried out by her in order to try to avoid detection, so they say, and then happened in the state of Utah. Boy, this is really something. Let's unpack some of the physical evidence that we have to prove this. Tommy, I'll go to you on this. We know multiple gunshots to that beautiful child's head were inflicted by somebody. We know that there were spent cartridge cases at the scene that police say match a spent casing at Ashlee Buzzard's home. And they say there was a live round that looked similar found in that rental car that Ashlee Buzzard was driving. Tommy, what do you think?
I think the forensics, as you were listing those out, the first thing I'm saying is, where's the weapon? And sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. But what you do have is, basically firearms identification is tool mark identification. In other words, they're looking at a specific way the hammer hit the bullet and caused a marking that is unique to each gun. And so if you have that unique marking at the house and you have that unique marking on a casing at the crime scene, that is pretty strong evidence, I would believe. Criminals always think they get rid of the weapon, they're good, but it'd be pretty smart to remove the casings too. So I think that part sounds extremely strong. It was interesting to me doing the hearing, how nervous she was, how shaken she was. I'm sure there'll be some type of mental health incident, and I couldn't think but thinking, Melodee, how nervous and shaken she must be when her mom takes her out in the middle of nowhere with a gun. And so I'm hoping justice will be done. I thought Rick did a great job of pointing out the jurisdictional issues. So maybe this is part of a larger strategy. We always talk about we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And so, if there are other people, the smoke signals Rick was talking about, I didn't hear the quote, investigation is continuing. So I think they have their murderer. And I just hope they can serve justice, whichever jurisdiction it comes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Tommy. Boy, your comment gave me chills thinking about that poor child, how she must have been so terrified moments before she was killed. Rick Grundy, I want to ask you about something Tommy touched on, and I think this has been at the front of so many people's minds. I've heard many analysts come on our network and say, in the weeks where Melodee was missing, and people would look at the conduct of the mom, her pulling down the missing posters, wearing the wigs, acting like she doesn't have a care in the world, people would say, oh, she must have some mental health difficulties to act this way. And then we hear law enforcement talk about this planning, how it was done so carefully, meticulously to avoid detection. I mean, the deception level was incredible here. If she is the person who did this, tell me, Rick, did that surprise you to hear someone who maybe appeared to be not so well be able to do this, so law enforcement says?
Yeah, no. I guess my short answer is no. It didn't surprise me because there was a lot of effort here. The efficacy of that effort, I think, is questionable. Backing into the gas station, some cheesy wigs. I don't know how efficient they were. There was a lot of effort. There was a lot of thought that went into it, but I don't think it was all that brilliant, put it that way. And it could certainly be part of a diseased mind.
Rick Grundy, Tommy Pope, excellent insight from you both. We're going to keep talking about this case. Just have to hit our first break. Friends at home, stay with us. Here's what's coming up next on Opening Statements.
You're a mother. I'm a mother. I'm a grandma. How can you do that to a baby? I can't talk no more.
Melodee Buzzard's family is speaking out this morning, outraged and shocked at Melodee's murder. Plus, a South Carolina pastor federally charged, accused of cyber-stalking his estranged wife in the months before she died by suicide.
Tell me what's happened.
I'm about to kill myself, and I just want my family to know where to find me.
Welcome back. Let's continue talking about the arrest of Ashlee Buzzard. It's been trending throughout the holiday season. The mother accused of killing her 9-year-old daughter. 2 days before Christmas, investigators believe all signs pointing to Ashlee Buzzard. There's the walk to the police vehicle after they cuffed her at her home. This is in Santa Barbara County, California. The sheriff's office says that this plot was carried out with exceptional cruelty and viciousness. After Buzzard appeared in court and pleaded not guilty to her daughter Melodee's murder, some family members from Melodee's father's side, her father is deceased, but from the dad's side of the family were questioning how in the world Ashlee regained custody in the first place, despite several issues happening in the past.
I don't know the whole rules or whatnot, but she ended up going through some type of recourse to where she was starting to get her on weekends, every other weekend or whatnot, and they granted her back to her. I don't know why or how. I'm not sure.
In the time that Melodee was staying with you and your wife, but then also seeing Ashlee in between on those selected weekends, did you ever notice a shift in her behavior at all, or anything that stood out to you?
Not at all. She was happy with us. She was happy.
In your heart, since your initial meeting, since Ashlee was dating your son that passed many years ago, did you ever feel like Melodee was ever in danger?
No, I did. But I did told my son that she was, she's different, mijo. What's wrong? He goes, Mom, it's okay. She's just quiet. But I heard, and my heart told me something was wrong.
So they felt something was wrong. How did the family lose sight of her? And this is so sad. You know, so this child loses her dad at a very young age. Mom is the primary custodian. We know there's an older sister who was incredibly concerned when Melodee went missing. We saw some video of her trying to ask Ashlee what in the world was going on. She wouldn't answer her. Let's talk about how this child was failed and what things should have been done better for her. Let's bring back in attorney Rick Grundy and welcome in private investigator with Black Ops Private Investigators, Manuel Gomez. Good morning to you both. Manuel, I'll start with you here. How was this child failed in your view?
Well, it was failed by the main two purposes is one, the system. The system with the Board of Education is unified throughout the 50 states when it comes for educational requirements. The problem is when it comes to homeschooling, there is no standardization of the process of what needs to be done. So each state is different. So there's some states, and a perfect example is California, where the leniency is so much that, you know, the kid doesn't have to show up. And it's very, very minimal requirements. This is why she was able to get away with not having her show up, not having her meet the requirements, not having her speak to the teachers or anything. And the second failure in this, which is a system that I'm always talking about, Child Protective Services. When they notified Child Protective Services, they should have came in there immediately. The problem is they didn't. They could have got a court order and they could have got this child safely if they would have took action immediately, and they did not.
Right, Manuel. Rick, your thoughts on this? Who failed this child the most in your view?
Well, I think Manuel hit the nail on the head. And my experience over the past 40 years as a prosecutor, most of that's been in a government capacity. There's two areas that have jumped out to me as areas of severe warning problems within the criminal justice system, and that is the youth, the handling of the youth, particularly in troubled homes, and the handling of mental health. Mental health has been pushed into a criminal system, and the handling of children in need is horribly unfunded, largely unprofessional, and uncoordinated. And now, as Manuel pointed out, a child should have many points of contact with the community, whether it be the school, whether it be community services, whether it be social services designed particularly for the children. And these people need to speak to one another. The heart of child services throughout the country is to reunite, to keep together children and their parents. In my opinion, that is somewhat wrong-sighted when it is repetitive behavior, when it is strange behavior, when it's behavior that the school, the child services, the community services, the police, who should all be talking to one another and sharing information, all point out that it is endangering this child. That needs to override any parental rights. This seems to be a glaring example where anyone who touched upon this child's life would have said her home care is improper. This woman is incapable, uncaring, or unable to be a mother.
Right. Well said, Rick. Thank you. You know, multiple investigators, including the coroner, spoke to the media after the announcement of those charges. Take a look.
Maternal filicide is rare and always difficult to comprehend. At this level of criminal activity is particularly shocking given the calculated, cold-blooded, and criminally sophisticated premeditation and heartlessness that went into planning it and the ruthlessness that went into actually committing the crime.
Investigators released some key timeline details leading to the second arrest of Ashlee Buzzard, which starts back on October the 7th when Ashlee and Melodee left for that 3-day-long road trip from California to Nebraska. On October the 9th, the last verified sighting of Melodee occurred right near the Colorado-Utah border. The very next day was when Ashlee returned home without her daughter. On December the 6th, investigators were contacted after a decomposing body was found in Utah. On December 22nd, the DNA links were made, linking the remains of Melodee to her mom. On the 23rd, Ashlee Buzzard is arrested and charged with murdering her daughter. All right, so what could have been done to save Melodee? Anything? What could have been done, possibly? Manuel, back to you on this.
Well, unfortunately, Julie, on one of the Court TV segments, I stated a solution that could have saved Ashlee, and that is for the grandparents to have put in for a child custody order to get custody over that child. Now, the court would have appointed a child attorney for the kid and would have forced the mother to have given her the phone number or location to where the child was at. Now, this was never done. Unfortunately, the prosecutors, you know, this is California. They take forever to take action. I mean, look at the David Ford case. That had a dead body in the car, and they still haven't arrested that guy. So, I mean, in this case, it doesn't shock me. They could have taken action by going to family court and putting in for custody papers, and they would have forced her to bring that kid in. Unfortunately, nobody did anything. And this is the sad thing, except put signs in front of that house.
You know,
that's horrific.
It's absolutely horrific. I'm with you. And yeah, that's a great point, Manuel, about looking back. You know, if there's anything we can learn from this, grandparents, you know, any rights that can be exercised by them or anyone else who could possibly help the child. Fair point there. Thank you for that. Rick Grundy, to you on the same question. Could there have been anything done by anyone to save this child?
Yeah, absolutely. This is the type of thing where you grow. You know, we need to grow as a service agency. We need to grow when it comes to protecting children. You need to be more aggressive. You can't have your social service agencies waiting by the phone for somebody to call up and say, there's a crisis situation, jump in and fix it now. Red flags. I want to homeschool my child. It's not a religious-based desire. I want to homeschool my child. That's a red flag. You got to look into that. You don't just check a box and say, okay, bingo, you're homeschooling your child. If a child is being isolated in the home, that's a red flag right there. Find out why that's happening. Now I've got a single parent who doesn't want to send their kid to school. Education is one thing about school. The main function of a school system is to socialize that child, to become a young adult, to be able to go through life. So when the agencies need to be assertive. They need to talk to one another.
Yes.
If somebody wants to be homeschooled, contact Child Services, investigate the home, fund these organizations so that they can do it. It's not going to cure itself, and the community is not going to be able to cure itself.